Hello there my lovely jewelry makers, I'm Christina of CSLdesigns, and in today's tutorial I'm going to show you how to make these cute flower wirework chain links that can be used for many different things. Bracelets, earrings, necklaces and anything else you can think of. So if you want to learn how to make them, then keep watching. So these are the materials that we'll need. Now the wire that I'm using is a regular round silver coated copper wire, and the first gauge is a 0.6mm, and then we're also going to need a finer wire like a 0.4mm. And then the beads we'll need are these 6mm Rose Montees. I'm using a crystal AB for a lovely sparkle. And then of course some findings like jump rings, earring findings, chain, depending what you want to use these links for. As for our pliers, we first of all need some flush cutters so we can of course cut the wire, some tweezers and nose pliers to help manipulate the wire. Then we need a tool to make our coil, so I've got this deluxe coiling gizmo, and I'm using the 5mm rod. Now I'm also going to be using this steel block and jewelry hammer to flatten the coils out, and you'll find useful links and the material list in the description box below the video. Otherwise, let's get it all ready and let's get started. So the first thing we need to do is make our coil, so I'm attaching my coiling gizmo to my desk using the clamp. Then I'm adding the rod through the corresponding hole. Take a 0.6mm wire and wrap it around the handle on the rod, and I'm just leaving the wire attached on the reel because it's hard to know exactly how much we're going to need, and also that way we have minimum wastage. But then you just want to start making your coil by spinning the handle. Now how long you need to make the coil really depends on what you want to use these links for and how many of them you need. I personally like to make a pretty long length, and then I can use that for multiple links. Then once we're done coiling, we can remove it from the rod by just sliding it off. And then what I like to just do is just clean up the ends by cutting off the excess wire here. And here we then have our coil. Now as you can see, we just have the coil as a spiral going all the way through. And what I just want to do is start to basically push the coils to the side. So you can start to see it there, just push in one direction. So they start to kind of overlap each other instead of laying right on top of each other, because we just want to encourage them to go in a certain direction, and do this all the way to the other end. So I'm then going to bring in my steel block, and I also have my hammer ready, and then I have my coils that I've pushed towards one side there. So you want to make sure you just lay them down sideways onto the block like that, and then we basically want to start hammering this. Now just gently, we don't need to hammer hard at all, just gently go from one end and hammer. You can start to see them separate out more and also become flatter if you look compared to the other side. And basically what we want to do is go all the way along to the other end and do this, so you can see they separate out a little bit more and also become a little bit flatter. But we want to keep going, so go back again and start to hammer even more, but again still just gently, just to get it a little bit more flat and also separate the coils out even more. You can see the difference here as well from the little part that I just did compared to the previous part. And then once you feel like you've kind of done what you can with the hammer, because obviously we can only get it so flat, we also don't want to damage the wire. And don't worry if it looks a little bit wonky like this, it's going to get straightened out as we continue separating the coils out. So now I'm going to move over and just use my hands and fingers and basically start again from one end and just start to pull the coils further apart, so separate them out more, and again just flatten them out as I go. And I want to separate them out to the point where they basically meet up side by side, and just move your way along and do that all the way to the other end. So I now flattened the whole coil here, and I've ended up with a pretty long length that I can use, and this will be good for quite a few links, especially because each link doesn't use that many of the coils. So I'm just going to start from one end here. Now what we need to do first of all is these first few loops that aren't really part of the other pattern anyway, I'm going to just undo them, so literally unravel them in the opposite way that the loops are formed to kind of straighten the wire back out. Now it doesn't have to be perfectly straight, just a workable length like this. And then what we need to do is start to shape this into what's going to be the flower shape. So I'm going to start to kind of bring the coils around in a bit more of a circle, and you can kind of go between each one and open them up just a little bit, and it'll naturally then create this shape. And what I'm going to end up with is using 8 of these coils, so I'm going to count them as well. I have 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8, so I can see which one needs to be the last one. So just keep bringing them around until we have something that looks a bit like that. Now of course you can see they start to overlap here, so what I'm going to do is go in with my cutters and just cut off a few coils further over like that, and then the rest here we can save for some more links after. And now what we need to do with this is the same that we did with the other end. So the last few coils, we need to undo them as well, so straighten back out the end of the wire all the way until I have the 8 coils left that I'm going to use for the flower. So we bring them together there, it's going to look a little something like that. And now as you can see, this part is still open, so we need to fasten that in place. So to do that, I'm going to make sure they overlap like that, and these 2 end loops are sitting next next to each other, so it's kind of a continuous pattern. And then this one going over the top, I'm going to then bring down between the two end loops on the other side, and then the one coming behind I'm going to bring up between the two end loops on the opposite side on this end, so this starts to kind of interlock them. And then from here we need to use the lengths to continue to kind of fasten it in place. So this is going out towards the back. I'm going to take the end and bring it up through the middle and pull it all the way through. Then I'm going to bring it over the top again and then come down between the next two loops, come up through the middle again, move one loop further over, so come down between the next two loops. So I'm working my way around the circle, you could say, towards the other end. And I'm just going to leave it there for now, because then I'm going to take the other end and do the same thing. So this one is coming from the back, so I'm going to push it down through the hole in the middle there towards the back again, and then bring it up between the next two loops and continue all the way till I'm down at the other end here, and they're kind of almost meeting up again. So bring the wire up between the next two loops. Then what I'm going to do is go in and cut it off, and then just push down that very end of the wire with my Tweezernose to make sure it's not going to be sticking out and catching or scratching on anything. And the other one, we do the same thing. So bring it up as if we were going to do another wrap, but then instead of doing a wrap, I'm just going to cut off the excess and make sure to push down the end. So here we have the basic flower shape in place. And now we just need to add the Rose Montee to the middle there. So for that, I'm going to use a length of the 0.4 mil, and this is just about 20 centimeters or so. Then I'm going to put the length of wire through the bead and bring the bead roughly to about the middle there. And as you can see on the back, we have a cross there, so we have a hole going one way and a hole going the other way. So currently I have the wire going through one way there, and I'm then going to place it on top of the little flower and then start to bring it around the sides, because we basically then need to use the ends of the wire here to attach to this frame of the flower that we've made. So that means I'm just going to use one wire at a time to come up in the middle of the flower from the back towards the front, and then pull that tight and then come down between the next two loops. And what I'm doing is working my way towards where the next hole in the bead is that I haven't used yet. And I'm also just going to bring the other wire around, so it just fastens the bead a little bit more in place, because it's still loose obviously. It can be a little bit fiddly. So just put it in place, put your thumb on it, and also then bring this one up through the hole in the middle, pull the wire tight, go down between the next loops, come up in the middle again. And now we have fastened the bead in place, but we want it to be a bit more secure because it's still wobbly, because we're still missing going through that other hole. So just whatever side you want to use, take the length of wire, go through that hole to the opposite side and pull it all the way. And then I'm just going to do the same with the wire on the other side, so go through the same hole but in the opposite direction. So they're kind of just swapping sides. And then with one at a time, I just want to basically finish off the wires and just secure them in place one last time. So again, go around that outer frame, up through the hole in the middle, and then just pull that tight, and just do that a couple of times. Swap over, repeat with the other one as well. Come up through the middle, pull it tight, just going to go around again to finish it off. And then we can go in, bring it around the back there and cut off the excess. And then the little end that's left, we just want to make sure to push that in to the middle there so it gets tucked out. And you can't feel it when you put your finger over it, so it won't catch or scratch on any skin. And of course, just finish off the other one as well. And once you then make some more links, what we can do is take a jump ring, open it up, and then add the jump ring through one of the petals there, and then add another flower in the opposite direction, also through a petal, close it back up, and then we have two links connected. So this makes for a really cute chain that'll be perfect for a bracelet. And of course you can also add earring findings or a chain in the same way, depending what you want to use them for. Otherwise, that's how you make these cute flower wire work chain links that you can use in loads of different ways, and you can even make a whole set of jewelry just with these links alone. So I really hope you enjoyed this tutorial. Now if you want to see more jewelry making tutorials, I have loads on my channel of different kinds, so feel free to check that out. Otherwise, I really hope you enjoyed this one. Thank you so much for watching it, and I'll see you in the next one.